Hello and welcome to The Ripple Impact, the podcast where we dive into those fascinating, unexpected ripples that create waves of change in brands, leadership, culture, and in life. I'm Laura Barber, founder of The Ripple Impact, a strategy and storytelling advisory that helps founders and leaders build brands that are felt, not just seen. After more than 20 years inside global giants like PepsiCo and Coca-Cola, I saw firsthand that the biggest growth doesn't come just from data and campaigns alone, it comes from the human stories that spark connection and trust. That's why I created this podcast, to understand those ripple moments, the sparks, the insights, the turning points that change people, brands, and culture. Because when we share them, we don't just tell stories, we create waves of impact. Each week, I sit down with bold thinkers, founders, and what we call wave maker guests to explore the ripple moments that shaped their journey and the lessons you can take to transform your business and your brand. Today's guest is someone who hears the world differently and is helping brands do the very same. I'm joined today by Karsten Kjems, founder of Sonic Minds, a global audio branding agency working at the intersection of emotion, design, and strategy, helping companies create not just sound, but meaning. Karsten's journey is full of surprises, pivots, deep purpose, and some pretty bold thinking about the soundtracks to our lives. Through Sonic Minds, Karsten has worked with some of the world's most respected brands in the world, from Arla Foods, Jabra to Ørsted, ranked the most sustainable energy company globally. His company's work has been recognised with international acclaim, including Red Dot Award, the IF Design Award, Global Award for DSB, the Danish State Railway. And what I love about Karsten's approach is that he doesn't just create soundtracks, he builds sonic identities that stir emotion, build connection, and leave a lasting imprint. And behind it all, a deeply personal story of creativity, sensitivity, and unexpected superpowers. Karsten, welcome to the show. I'm so delighted to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. Just want to say, wow, Laura, what you fly in. I hope I can deliver on that.
Well,
I feel so humble here. Thank you for being here and happy to share some of my moments and thoughts about music and sound design and silence, perhaps also. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of silence. I love that. I almost want to start with that, but let's wind back a little bit. Firstly, thank you for being on the show. I'm so delighted to have you here with us today. And the bio is all you, right? So huge.
Yeah, I was not surprised. I don't really age. If you stay long in business, that's what happens.
I love that. So before Sonic Minds, before audio branding, I know music has literally been part of your DNA. So I love to start with the personal stories that have ultimately taken people into the businesses they're in. Can you share with us those early childhood ripple moments that have shaped and nudged your journey into the world of sound?
I will be happy to, yes. My father was a musician and he was a famous jazz drummer. Our house was actually a community of musicians. They came here. My father had a studio with a bass player in the basement. So a lot of hot musicians came here and did their albums and smoked funny tobacco and stuff like that in the 70s and 80s. So I was brought into music. I went to a music school, Copenhagen Boys Choir as well, and I played drums very early on. So I discovered that also in the music school that I had really good pitch. I could hear chords and stuff very easily. One of the only classes that I was really good at, that was music. So it felt natural for me. But then later in life, I started playing professional drums as my father. But I also took a software degree because I had this insight playing a gig in outer Denmark. And I could see my dad was playing there the next month on the same venue with some other artists. And suddenly I was thinking, Dad, he's 30 years older than me. Do I want to do the same stuff that he does in 30 years like this, touring and playing? So I started also getting a software degree. So combining my flair for music, but also my interest in computers and marketing and gave me an education as a software developer. So I was also working at a software agency while playing music also later in my career. That's where I realized that when it came to choosing of sound and music for campaigns or brands, it was kind of like random or who liked what. Whereas when it comes to designing of fonts and colors, there were design agencies, there were designers, there were project managers, etc. But in terms of sound, there was no vocabulary. People just, I like this. I think it feels good. Whereas it's also how you choose your bank. We need to have some language to discuss sound. And that's back in the early 2000s. So that's where I started about, why don't we have a more strategic approach to using sound music? And there wasn't any books around it. Actually, there was only one book. It's a British guy called Michael Jackson is his name. And that was the early days about audio branding. So me and a guy called John Groves and some other, very few people thought about we need to do audio branding. And that's when McDonald's came out with the da-da-dun-dun-dun. Yeah. And before that, the Intel Bong and the Nokia ringtone, of course, as well. So we're starting to happen something about that audio logo thing. Whereas actually the jingle goes back to the So there's a long history of doing jingles, and the difference between jingle and an audio logo is jingle is where you sing it with the words that rhymes, whereas an audio logo is just like bum 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 bum. It's more the audio signature. So that was my way into it. And then here very lately, some years ago, I discovered that I'm noise sensitive. And combined with my recently discovery that I'll probably also have ADHD, well, it gives some situations and stressful moments, but it's also a superpower if you understand how to use it. So what I can discover is that I hear many small nuances. If I'm in a room where there's a small sound that could be or whatever, I cannot concentrate. I need to know where does the sound come from and why is the sound like this. It's difficult for me to abstract from it. So by having this, you can say, nervous situation here, I also use my sensitivity to compose and educate my clients and my colleagues about, I mean, if I can accept a sound, I know everybody, also us who are noise sensitive, can do that. Then I also thought, am I the only one in the world who is noise sensitive? I went online. No, 20% of the population there has some kind of HSP, highly sensitive people. You might recognize yourself. Some has it to smells, some have it to light, some has it to sounds. I do have it to sounds. Some have a mixture. But I also think that is why we have seen so many people who are stressed today, because we're getting overstimulated. And people are wearing anti-noise cancellations in public spaces and commuting because there's so much noise from cars and trains and people and music from stores, etc., that we're getting overstimulated, and that tires us. So even me, who lives of, producing sound and music, we always have this philosophy that we share with our clients, that when we do break the silence, it must create more meaning than the silence itself. Otherwise, you're just making noise. Then we have another discussion, because just because we can play a sound, which we can have, I mean, it's so cheap today, speaker here, Spotify there you go, music done. But does it actually add to the situation, to the user experience, to the product, to the brand? So that's more about the discussion we like to have with our clients. What is it? What audio footprint do you want to create out there in the world? What is it people should think or feel or do when they hear you? Because in a digital space, there's only two senses: hearing and seeing. And when I do keynotes and talks, I ask always people, how many of you guys have your phones on mute? Well, around 80% has it on mute because it's disturbing us. So we always try to protect ourselves. But again, if you are interested, I'll be interesting. If you don't scream at me, I will listen to you. Play something pleasantly and I will actually listen to you.
I find it fascinating that you grew up in a family of music, and it's something that you had a passion and a joy for. And then you discovered this high sensitivity to sound, and the combination of a childhood passion and joy, finding this sensitivity, and then using that as your superpower to start a business is incredible. Because as you said, it's not a thing that's been around a long time. Businesses have got logos and fonts and colors and brand books, and this has been going on for decades. But audio and sound as a critical strategic pillar for businesses is something that hasn't really been taken seriously for a very long time.
It hasn't.
So it almost sounds like the perfect combination of situations for you to then found Sonic Mimes.
The timing is right. All the diagnosed HSP, highly sensitive people, is also fairly new. People just thought that it's probably me who's a little bit sensitive. Oh, it's probably me who are introverted or whatever. And also all these diagnosed we have nowadays, ADHD, ADD, etc., are also quite new. They didn't exist when I was a kid. You just thought it was, that's just how I am. But then suddenly you get this insight. Oh, I get it, why I get distressed by this. That's why I only go to private concerts or smaller concerts. I don't like huge concerts. That's why I always try to be in those rooms that have great acoustics, getting these insights. And when I do these keynotes, I also ask out the crowd, how many of you guys will consider yourself as a highly sensitive people? And apparently 20% of the people have this. Me too. I also book meeting rooms when I need to concentrate, or I also feel it's annoying when people blah, blah, blah. So if any listeners or viewers here, you're not the odd ones here. We are just normal people.
No, absolutely not.
And if you can find your own superpower within this space, then it's meaningful.
Yeah. It's incredibly powerful for you that you can take that sensitivity and use it to your advantage in the world of sound. And as you said, 20% of the population are highly sensitive, but I suspect it's more than that as well, just because the amount of overload that people are faced with on a daily basis, the amount of marketing and campaigns and TV and digital is hugely overwhelming. And actually, just to give you a little anecdote as well, there's a UK retailer here, Tesco's, have brought in noise cancelling headsets so people can go around the supermarket with no audio, which is Really
Yeah.
fascinating, because I think their intent is to protect people that are oversensitive, but actually they're blocking out so much important information.
Well, I totally get you with this Tesco thing, but we're trying to fix not the root of the problem, but the cause of it. I was going to a concert here in Copenhagen with a band U2, and after the buying process online, where do you want to sit? Do you want extra this and that? And at the very end, do you want to buy some earplugs? Plugs. I'm going to a concert room. Is it because you cannot make this sound good enough, or just have to turn it up? Going to the movies, do you want to buy some sunglasses? Because we cannot make the pictures really crisp. So why do we need to have anti-noise cancellation? That's because the sound around us isn't good enough. So we should try to have a higher insight and a higher focus on what environments are really creating here. I was in Marrakesh last week and in Berlin 2 weeks ago for another conferences, and that's where really I discovered that Copenhagen, Denmark, is a very highly designed city, and we have silent airports, we have silent pavement on the roads. We design very much both in lights but also in sound, so we have a good environments, public spaces. But until we get that awareness, we will just try to fix the problem with here's some anti-noise cancellation, here's some earplugs for the concert, because we cannot figure out to make good sound. So why do we accept that? So until we start to choose with our ears as much with the eyes, they will keep doing this. Have you tried this, Laura, going on vacation or into another city and you need to find a place to have a coffee or beer or whatever? You open the door and the first thing you hear is, oof, 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 oof. The coffee, I go again. You haven't even tasted the sandwich or the coffee. You choose with your ears. You need to have this more awareness. I am on this personal quest to higher the awareness about the beauty of meaningful sounds and purposeful music in the right places.
Yeah. And how would you describe the ripple impact of sound in people's lives on their daily basis?
It has a huge impact on our daily lives. I mean, hearing is the first sense we are born with. We can hear before we are born. We can remove cavities at the dentist with these small ultrasounds. The police has sound guns for dissolving huge groups on the street. So sound is so effective. And it is the soundtrack of our life. People say that music is the language of the universe's soul, because it's all about vibrations and synergies. We as humans are one big vibration. We can have anger, that's another frequency, then we are in a state of peace. And in the laws of physics, this is laws of physics, we molecules tend to go into synchronicity. So if you are singing with other people in the choir, you all come into the same wavelength because you sing the same thing. After singing or being at church or a football game, we're singing a song together, we feel united because we have just been in the same frequency. So that's so impactful. And I try to bring this insights and the power of sound into communication and marketing, because if a brand needs to make a film or have an app with sounds, if they sound cheap, the brain will think this is a cheap product. If they sound annoying, you will think this is an annoying product. We can make a brand film into a horror film or a porno film just by changing the soundtrack. We evaluate and feel faster than we think with our ears. But that's due to the anatomy. We have 2 ears beside of the eye, so we can always hear surrounders. Do we need to wake up? Do we need to run? And if you close your ears into a room, you can also hear how big is a room, is how tall there is to the ceiling. So we really can hear so much more than we think. So it is really a strong sense. And if brands start to using that intentionally in the communication, they will get a lot more engagement, a lot more likeness, and a lot more recognition, and a lot more trust.
It's so fascinating for me, because for me the power of music is just incredible, and the power of sound and how it can be so positive and so negative in equal measures. And I was so excited to get you on the podcast today, because I've been fascinated about this since university, where I wanted to do my dissertation on the impact of music in advertising. And there just wasn't enough content to do it at the time, sadly.
Really?
But it just shows you how much the market has moved in the last 25 plus years.
It definitely
But
is.
it's fascinating. If anyone sat there at the moment with a brand that doesn't have an audio footprint or an audio sound identity, how would you describe the importance of sound when it comes to branding and marketing and communication?
I would say it's just as important as your visual logo, because in today's digital world, there's only two senses, hearing and seeing. And if you don't capitalize or use the hearing sense, you're missing 50% of the bandwidth. So while all brands today, you, Laura, you have your own logo, you have your own colors. Why have you chosen this purplish color and the ripple is little different font than the other there's there? Why have you done that? What is it you want to communicate? So the ripple is going to dance a little bit and the impact is more solid. So if we should produce a sound to you, we will look into you and your values. How should you sound? How would you want to be experienced? So it is very important for brands today, because they all have either a podcast or have brand film, or they have an Instagram or a TikTok, or employ branding film for LinkedIn, or they might have an app sound. or product sound.
Yeah.
To create this holistic audio design system is becoming so crucial. And the brands we work with are so different. So the only thing they have in common is that they want to stay in front of their own domain, so to say. So it could be Carlsberg, it could be Arla. Now we got a request for a food company out of Japan, but they all want to say we need to create more engaging and meaningful communication and be more effective, especially for larger companies. That I had this client that they challenged me about what is the return on investment of having an audio identity? Well, how much time do you spend today find the music you're using right now? Well, he didn't know. Well, look it up. Then he returned to me with a shock. You know what? I just discovered we use 300 hours per year to find music. Do you also use 300 hours each year to find your own logo and your colors? No, that's templates. That's
done.
That's done. Yeah, that's why. So there can be several reasons, and it's so easy to find an ROI because there's so much data that shows that having an audio identity creates more effective communication. When the audio and visual works together, it's more recognizable and more likable as well. And especially on TV, I just saw research lately that 50% of the population, they don't want to watch commercials actively, but they will hear it. 80% because they might go around the TV to the kitchen or whatever they're going to do.
Go make a cup of tea.
Exactly. And if you don't say the brand name or play some da-da-dun-dun-dun, then the brain will subliminally register it. But if you don't say that or have an audio identity in some way, it could be a logo or a piece of music or the brand names, you're just missing 50% of your TV money. So it is getting more and more accepted and normal out there. But also we see that the product sounds are becoming the most played sounds for many consumers. You might have a Sony TV in your home or Apple headset or MG car. And these small sounds you hear daily when you power on your coffee machine, you go into the car. These are the branded sounds that you, as a user, interact with and hear daily. And they become the sound of the brand. And many brands forget that as well. And also, what are the main user journey for a brand? As like you said, Tesco, is it going into the Tesco store and then you experience it with anti-noise cancellations? What about making some good acoustics here? So it shouldn't wear, anti-noise
solve the problem, not cover it.
Solve the problem, not cover it up,
Yeah, solve the problem, don't just cover it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Because we often think about, I've read that smell and music are the most powerful memory evokers. We talked about songs and we talked about jingles, but as you said, product sounds are so throughout our daily lives and they signal what's happening in our warm-up. You talked about intuitive sound and how it moves with people throughout the day. Can you tell us that? Because it's an incredible way to think about sound, not as a one-off thing, but how it changes and it moves with people depending what they're up to. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to discuss with clients as well that has the possibility to create adaptive sound design. Like in a car, modern e-cars today, if anyone has that, is an iPad on wheels. And they have their computer. They know what time of day it is. They also know who's driving it because they have these cameras inside. This is Laura driving, so I should put the seat a bit forward. Or this is Karsten driving, and you need to adjust whatever. So they can also listen how much noise there is outside, inside. So why don't they adapt the interaction sounds to the user? So if there's a lot of wind noise, then the you're driving too fast sound shouldn't be as loud. Well, as if driving a very quiet place with no wind or not so fast, then the interaction sounds doesn't need to be so high of a volume. So that is adaptability could be really great to have. But also in our homes, I started one day here counting how many UI sounds I'm exposed to. But after 40, I stopped counting. The iPhone made an app sound. You have to get up, coffee machine. And then it says it was out of water. And sometimes just beep. What beep? I don't understand what you're saying. So how can we create intelligent and both functional but also branded sounds that convey some information? So I can hear, the coffee machine is saying that it needs some water rather than just stuck with something or what happened. Yeah. A good example is a headset, for instance. If you have a headset, they don't have any displays. So you can only understand what it's trying to say to you either with voice, battery low or battery high or whatever, or with that the sound is carrying information. So a headset today has around 15 sounds. So you should be able to intuitively understand do. Okay, it's probably running out of power. I'll check it up again. And on an e-car today has around 30 to 40 sounds. So imagine how many sounds we'll get exposed to. And the brain is wired like that. If we don't understand it, we will get confused by it or we will get annoyed by it. And that's why we get this stressfulness. I don't understand this sound. I just get, why does it yelling at me? Beep, beep, beep. So trying to create some more intelligence and adaptability to the sounds. What time of day is it? Should it be louder? Should it be more softer? Or, just like you can with many light bulbs today, you can change the setting to, safari lightning or a mooning desert or whatever it is. So we can do that with sound again. Yes, we can.
That's the thing, because sound can be such an incredible communicator, as you said, like an alarm versus an alert versus information. Very different pieces of information that you're portraying. But arguably, if it all sounds the same, you're not going to get that difference information. And I'll give you a little anecdote. We went on holiday this summer and we had a hire car. It had all these sounds that I didn't understand any of them. When you get a hire car, you don't really understand the car anyway. But
it's a new language.
Exactly. It's a completely new language of which we didn't understand. But one we did understand was when you open the door, it did this fanfare noise, like a it wasn't that, but you get my
welcome
meaning.
to me. Yeah.
It did this welcome noise, like very celebratory. You've joined the car. How exciting. Where are you going? Kind of noise. And you shut the door. And at first we were like, oh, that's quite cute. That's quite nice. But it did it every single time we got into the car. So even if we just needed to pop to the supermarket, it was annoying. But not just that, you couldn't actually turn on the ignition and move until it had gone through this little musical fanfare.
You were forced to hear this symphony.
Forced to listen to it. So not only was it annoying, you were forced to listen to it. And sound can be so beautifully inspiring and helpful, informative, but it can also be so annoying if you get it wrong. And from a brand's point of view and from a product experience point of view, it was so irritating.
You're not the only one. I'm a little bit of a car nerd, and I see some car reviews channels on YouTube. And whenever they come to the sounds, they give this car, so annoying sounds, and it's so stressful because they're not adaptive. They're just saying beep, 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 beep. Yes, I know I'm driving here, but I'm supposed to park here. Don't yell at me, So they have this annoyingness, and the adaptability in your situation should be, well, this is the first time you enter the car. That's fine, but second time, play a shorter version. Don't need the full long introduction to yes, I'm just driving my kids to school, but also with kitchen appliances, or I have this tumble dryer. It plays also a symphony when it's done, and it takes 3 hours when it's done. Usually you turn it on before you go to bed, and then in the middle of the night, okay, you're playing for me. Okay, thank you. Yeah, fine, I know you're done. It's so easy, but we do meet brands that has this insight who want to change that, but we need some ambassadors internally. And I can see that we're getting more and more people like you who also notice this. And then suddenly, let's say you want to choose a car. Next time you're going to buy a car, and you find a car similar to the one you rented, and you say, oh no, not that one. It was so annoying. I don't like the sounds. So
it would totally put you off.
So you're actually saying, Lara, you're choosing a car just because of the UI sounds? This one has ABS and has 0 to 100 at so many horsepower, and it can blah, blah, blah. Yes, but it sounds like shit.
Yeah, but if it's going to annoy you every single time you get in the car,
exactly.
That is exceptionally disruptive.
Suddenly, these environments are becoming so important that it's user experience, the human engagement with the product of the car that are the most critical, because it has wheels. Yes, they all do. And it can run on. Yes, they all do. So it's the user experience and the design that has becoming the most critical factor between choosing A or B.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's lovely that you talked about it as a user experience, because companies spend so much money on the user experience online and the digital journey through and the navigation of a website.
Yeah.
But who thinks about the user experience of music and sound and audio? Why isn't every business doing this?
Because two things. The marketeers are not educated in this. As long as no people know about it, as people don't know what they don't know. But if we educate people today as sound designers, also in the marketing education, there is a course called audio branding. They need to know about the term. So when they get out in the companies, the newer generation, they'll see, okay, where's our CVI, corporate visual identity? That's cool. But where is our audio identity? You don't have any. Why is that? So there needs to be a need, because they say, well, we are producing 100 films a year. We're doing radio commercials. We have a TV spot. We also have internal communication. We have an event. And actually our product also has sound. Why don't we have a cohesive design system in sound where we can, not the same sound, but different sounds that makes us sure that we are the same brand? When we have this talk with brands and say, well, now you're saying it's actually obvious, why don't we? But the brands who are acknowledging this and knowing this, McDonald's, Intel, all these brands, you also with Weetabix, etc., they know this. That's why they're doing it. Yeah. It's because it's working. And if you want to have more effective communication and have the best money spent when you do marketing, you should also capitalize the sound. Back to the question, if a new person comes into a company who has worked in another company where they did have a sound, they will definitely demand for it. Also, we have the situation where one CEO was a chairman of another company, and he discovered that this company he was chairman of had an audio density that sounded really cool. So he went back to his own company and said, why don't we have this? I mean, this is obvious. So the demand comes from if somebody else are having it and we don't, or we are launching a new product, but we need a sound for this. It could be a car, it could be whatever, where we have these moments. This is a good time to launch and have a right sound. So it is growing. We can see that from the requests we're getting from around the world. But then we also meet companies who says audio what branding? I never heard about it. We sell whatever. We don't use sound. Okay, if you say so, but that's not true. Just heard 30 sounds on your website and your YouTube channel, and you say you don't have sound. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Tell us about the sound throughout a day, right? Because it can't be the same sound all times of the day for every product. How do you guys think about the daily routine of sound and what that looks like?
Well, we very much look into the brand's user journey. So if you are a store where you have open from 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock in the evening, you don't want to have the same energy level all day. You need to look in what state are you in when you come into the morning? What are the audiences who come in the morning or midday are probably different than the one in the afternoon where the kids are coming after school or the adults are coming lately. Identify your users and make a playlist so it suits to them. That's very important. For brands who doesn't have a store where they has to be online, well, they have look into the target group, but they also need to understand what is the digital user journey. Do people see us first on YouTube or a commercial? Then they go to our social media, or then we can push out some commercials. What is the user journey here? What feelings do we want to create when listening to us? Are we a male or female voice? Are we energetic? Are we innovative? Are we Nordic? Are we, funky? What are we? So we always ask this to our clients, brands, if you were a piece of music, how would you sound? And then how should you use that sound throughout your user journey? It's the morning, evening, afternoon. So it's very different from brand to brand, depending on what products they're selling and their brand touch points.
And it's a lovely thought around the user experience and human stories, right? Because if we're telling human stories, we think about the tone of voice, we think about the style, etc. But it's the tone of the music as well, the feelings and the emotions of the music and what you're trying to invoke in the person that's listening. It's such a beautiful thought.
Yeah, because music is such a strong identifier for who you are. Show me your Spotify list or your CD collection, whatever. I can tell you who you vote for, how old you are, your sexuality, how many kids you almost have. It's such a strong identifier for you. Yeah. It's the song of our life. And we also know that from music and psychology that people tend to create their primary taste of music when they're between 17 and 21. That's when you're most, open to first date, your first boyfriend. You're really open to music style. Are you going to be a punk, or you want to be a rock star? You're probably more like a country western guy, or more like a soul girl, or I'm more like a disco girl. But those hits you hear in that age, they stick all life. So if you want to target a woman today who's 50, you go back and say, okay, what really hit when she was 17? Was it Michael Jackson? Who was it? So when you hear that music, that reminds me of the back old days when I went to the club. They can just take us back as well as smell can. I also tried to go into the store and then suddenly, this tea reminds me of my grandma. Suddenly, I saw my grandma in front of me.
Yeah.
And also with the piece of sound, music your husband proposed to you. So these are so strong, but you cannot predict what emotions or the situations you will reveal for your audience. Yeah. So I always say to brands, don't sound like Billy Joel or Beatles or whatever. No, sound like yourself, because the emotions I have with Beatles or U2 or Coldplay, they're mine. So you should create your own sound. Otherwise, you're trying to borrowing something from something experience you're having. So there's a lot of psychology in music marketing and neuroscience as well. Mm-hmm. And we can test that. So we can show 2 commercials with 2 different soundtracks, and suddenly they say, which one's your best? Like, definitely version B is a lot better. Was the same film? No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. We just changed the sound a little bit. Or we can make a pork roast more slimmer than the other one just by changing the music. So we can change taste, perception, price, so many things just by changing the sound.
And it baffles me as well, because I've seen hundreds of brand briefs and campaign briefs and advertising briefs for the last 25 years, and there's never a sound brief that goes with it. It's often the last thought. It's often then the bit that is left to the agency to figure out. It's not at the center of. We had a body language expert on the show a few weeks back, Adrienne, and it was about what is the face saying in terms of emotions. It's the same here. What is the sound saying in terms of emotions and response? It's the same, but we don't take it anywhere near as seriously as we do, as you said, the logo of the font, the style, the actors, the casting. What about the music and the sounds?
80% is not what we say, it's how we say it. Is it very low and serious and slow talking? Or are we talking like this? 80% is what we're saying. Which one of these 2 are most, to trust in most? So You're so true, Laura, what you're saying here. It's not what you say, it's how you say it and what emotions you create around it, because the brain communicates in so many layers that we cannot compute consciously. We hear stuff, we smell stuff, we see stuff, we feel stuff. And all these emotions we have to pin down, do I like it or do I not like it? Is it good or is it bad? Is it cheap or is it expensive? And that's where sound really, is this superpower. They can really go in and overrule the other ones. So you have two campaigns where the same price, same quality, but this one just sounds a lot better in terms of, it feels more premium. It feels more, like me. Why? Well, I don't know, it just feels better because the brain computes all these inputs. And that's what the smart marketeers do. They understand the power of sound and music and use it clever. So the brains we work with, they have their audio, visual guidelines, their colors, templates, and here's the audio design system. So we want to be communicated as engaging or innovative and modern. These are the tracks we use for that. When we want to communicate this is how we're going to use sound for that. So there's also briefs and guidelines for that as well. We see more and more brands going that way. And I was at a conference lately here in Marrakesh, where definitely could see that is the trends. And these big leading brands, they all know that and take care of that. Otherwise, you cannot compete in that space, and it will be way too ineffective to discuss. What sound do you like, Laura? Should we use this or that? Suddenly you have that 300-hour discussion a yearly to find the music. We don't discuss what color should your logo be today. No, it's set.
Yeah. I laughing because when I set up my podcast, and I need to call you after this, because when I set up my podcast, I spent hours, because I'm a solopreneur, right? You got to start from somewhere. We're not in a studio just yet. But so the intro and the outro music for my podcast is part of the platform that I use. I haven't bought it, I haven't paid for it, I haven't created it. But I listened to every single track before I selected the one I did, because it's so important, and it had to sound like me, and it had to sound like my business and what we're trying to achieve. Now, it's not that great because it's one of the free samples, but it's important because it's what people hear. And so I'm going to be calling you after this.
You're welcome. But again, I can also feel that you're very aware of what shirt you're wearing, your lipstick color, the jewelry, because, it has a color to you. But when it comes to choosing sound and music, what we experience is that many few people has a language. I don't like it. What is it you don't like? Well, is it too fast or too slow? Is it major or minor? Whereas with the food, it's too sweet, it's too hot, it's too bitter, it's too salty. We can discuss that. Or I like a shirt that's more pink yellow. Okay, here's one. Yes, that's the one I like. But if you don't have a language, we cannot discuss it in an objective way. So many brands comes to us kind of fluffy, and then we identify, okay, this is some words that fits for you that we can convert into sound. So when you say you want to be experienced as modern or innovative, these are roads you can go down. Whereas modern and innovative for another brain can sound something differently. But for you, then you suddenly have some language. So also internally, you can say to a colleague, no, I don't think we should sound so innovative. I think we should little bit less bold, but more human. Okay, because they have internally got to understand it, just like colors. It should be more blue or less blue. What kind of blue? Is it dark blue or sky blue, or is it screaming blue? What is it? So we really create this vocabulary internally, and then suddenly people understand, oh, and this is so good. Now I can discuss this, because we also experience that many clients feel insecure talk about music because, I don't know, I cannot really, say my opinion. I'm not a musician. Well, you don't have to. You have feelings, don't you? Yes, I do. Yeah. So we don't ask if you like the music. We ask to which degree do you experience this music as pink or bold? Okay, then I think it's a 4. Okay, so suddenly we can discuss and evaluate rather than, do you like this better? What about that? This, I don't know. It's a lot about the language.
I love that, because brands and businesses are so good at doing product testing. As you said, we know the language for sweet and savory and bitter and umami, even words that get introduced. But in terms of music, how we equip brands and business with a lexicon that they can describe who they are as a business, what their brand represents, and therefore how sound and music should feel and how it should represent the business. That's such a lovely thought about building this lexicon within the marketing world, so that we can not just brief music, but then also critique it as well. Because often when you're sat client side and you get an advertising campaign back, or you get some creative, you need the language to also critique it in a way that's constructive too, not just, I don't like it, it doesn't feel like us. Where do you go? There's nowhere to go from there as a creative.
I totally agree with you. There's one more thing that I want to share with you, Laura, is that when we do this, music psychology workshop with our clients, for instance, I can draw you 2 different symbols, and you're going to tell me which one is Booba and which one is Kiki. So this one is the first one here. And here's the other one. And which one is Booba and which one is Kiki?
First one is Kiki.
Why is that?
Because K's have a dynamic, sharp, edgy staccato. Is that the right word? Staccato.
If your logo was with like the very hard lines, the sound couldn't be woomy. That will be, you'll be the sign language of your logo, and your product should also reflect your audio design language. And then suddenly this, aha, now yes, we should be this or that, or etc. And then they can also discuss, yeah, that's why we don't sound sharp and edgy, because we are round, warm, or we are perhaps to the point, straight to
direct.
So that's why we use these sounds here. And sometimes it can also be good to do the contradictionary, because then why I'm seeing something soft but I'm hearing something hard. So there's many ways you can use sound also to create attention, but you need the language to discuss it. Otherwise we just go to I don't like it. So,
yeah, and then it becomes personal, doesn't it? Whether you like a track
or
a sound or you don't.
The CEO has more likability than you do, and then he decides, or the CEO's wife didn't like the track. Okay.
And that's it. And we talk about this in branding and advertising all the time. It's not, do you like it? Is this right for the customer and the consumer? And it's the same with sound, right? You might love a track, but it might not be right for your brand.
Exactly. I can go with the Bryan Adams. Yes, it's cool, but if you want to be experienced like this, then you cannot sound like Bruno Mars or Coldplay, because even though I like Coldplay and YouTube, but this is not your brand. It's not who you are. They don't fit. And that's where you get the Kiki Booper thing. Something is odd here. You're saying like this, but you sound like something else. Who are you? Because music is such a strong cultural identifier, who you are. Also, if you go to a concert and then you meet somebody else, a stranger, oh, you also that concert, then we're almost friends because you like the same stuff. So it's the bond and music track of our whole life. That's how we find our peers and choose our mates. And it's the language of our souls.
That's such a beautiful thought. You've got my brain going off in all kinds of different spaces.
I can see
now.
that.
No, because I'm like, because I just love this topic. I find it so fascinating, because I find music and sound so evocative and emotional and inspiring. From my absolute favorite movies in the world, my favorite movies because of the music that is in those tracks.
Exactly.
But also things like crunch of a footprint in snow. Sound can be so evocative and romantic or dramatic, and it's such a powerful tool. So I get so excited about this. And now I'm thinking, when you were telling the story before, when I used to live in London, the tube station that I used to go to in the morning, and I genuinely didn't think about this at the time. Genuinely, this has just come up now. In the morning, they used to play, I think it's called Flight of the Bumblebees, and it's really fast track. And I always used to make me laugh, because it always made me want to run down the stairs in the tube. And then in the evening, they would play relaxing music. And genuinely, I'd never thought about it before, because I'd think about it in a branding context or products, but in a space. And we talk about restaurants, don't we? The ambience of a restaurant or a bar. Is it too loud, or is it really romantic? But in a train station, in a tube station, I'd never thought about it. But I don't know if they've done that purposely or not, to get speed up in the morning or to relax people later on in the evening. But it's incredible how much it's in our lives and we don't even notice it sometimes, but it does change the way you behave, right? And that's consumer psychology, isn't it? It's nudging people.
It's nudging people, and we see that very much in Copenhagen. I also think we'll see it in other countries, but parking lots has this feeling of being scared, especially for women, don't want to go there. Then suddenly lights means a lot, but also music. And suddenly this doesn't sound dangerous. I can park my car here. So it's changed the perception of a place. Some years ago, they did a test at the Copenhagen Central Station, and then they started playing Vivaldi at the toilets, because Vivaldi is it's reflecting a person who is in harmony and in symphony with himself. And a drug addict isn't that. So the music is so contradictory to how you feel. It's your brain doesn't allow that. So we use music today, both in public spaces, but also in airports, for people to move from section A to section B, because we subliminally wanted to walk to the beat. So that's why in the military history, that's why they had drums, so they could move faster. So it's been known for years, using sound to move people from A to B, or to attract them to something, or distract them from something else by changing the mood.
I think there's a lot of airports in the world that need to call you, because I've had a lot of airport experiences that are very stressful because of the sound. Very contradictory, very overstimulated, everything all going on at the same time. Airports need to call you, because it can be a very stressful space for people, and the sounds do not help.
And sometimes these outbound, this call, come to this station, they have not learned how to talk into a microphone. So what did he say? I don't know, they're just screaming. So yeah, there's still a lot of room for improvements. And as I said earlier, if sound and music could smell, it would smell
So
like shit in
bad.
so many
Yeah.
airports and places. But I
Yeah.
don't give up, Laura. I still fight for the good sound and for the good cause and trying to make the world sound better, more meaningful, not more sounds, but meaningful sound. Actually, silence isn't what we should strive for. The moment a sound gets annoying is because it doesn't make meaning in the sense. So you can be at the water and then the waves sounds good. The seagull sounds well. The trees and leaves sounds okay. But if you have something that sounds really disturbing, then it's not meaningful. Good sound should be something you don't notice. It should just be there, just as good music. Do you like the music? I no, I didn't hear anything. Well, it's because it was pleasant and meaningful to you in the situation, or it made you feel good. It's only when you start noticing it that something is wrong. Why I don't understand this, or you get annoyed, or you get distracted from something.
Yeah, and it's disruptive rather than
Disruptive, yeah,
helpful.
disturbing, not informative.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to brands and businesses? Maybe they're not happy with their sound and their audio.
Mhm.
Maybe they have nothing. Maybe they've never even thought about it. Maybe they're in the group of people that you mentioned earlier that go, audio branding? Like,
No, we
what's
don't do
that?
that. We sell cups or whatever. We sell
Yeah.
coffee. We don't do music. Well, first of all, start listening to your brand. Call up your own on hold company, and listen to your on
Yeah.
hold music, and then pinpoint a person in the company who should be responsible for the sound, because they all have an IT responsible. They also have a finance guy or marketing guy. Who is in charge of how you sound? Well, we don't have any. Well, identify one, and then start mapping out your user journey. Where do we use sounds? Is it LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok? Is it an app we have? Is it a SaaS? Is it online? Is it films, or is it a store? And then get some professional help, because I also say, yeah, I have a camera in my phone here, but that doesn't make me a photographer. And don't just say, oh, we have a John from sales. He's also an amateur musician. He can do it. Yeah, sure. Yeah, do that. Is it also he who makes your website because he has a pencil? No, that's where we got this agency. Yeah, of course. So treat sound as professional as you do with your other brand assets, and get an overview of your audio landscape, and then get this flexible, agile audio design system that you can use. And I'll trust you, over the time of the year, it will definitely be worth the investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you said the amount of time that's spent in businesses searching for music, searching for audio, searching for intros,
Or
outros,
using the wrong music.
music for social posts.
Yeah, but also they spend a lot of budgets and resources of making a film, and then they top it with shitty music, and then the whole film sounds cheap.
Yeah.
So because you know better than you sound like. So they might use 80% of the budget or 90% of the budget for the film, and then 10% for the music, because nobody's in charge of it. And if you don't take charge of it, then the production company will just also try to tone it down and then find the cheapest thing they can get away with, because that's how they make the best money out of your business. Own your audio landscape. Where do we use sound the most? Which touch points? Is it the product? Is it the phone? Is it the online? And then look into what feelings and emotions do you want people to experience. Or the best thing, call up a professional company. There are more audio branding companies out there, not only Sonic Minds, but they can definitely help you with that and create an intelligent audio identity and design system that you can use. So yeah, get some help. But also start simple. Start very simple. Not all brands need an audio logo. Not all brands need, signature sounds. It depends on who you are.
Nice. I'm going to be calling you after this for my podcast, because I need intro, outro music that does
We can help you.
justice to the brand. So
Yep.
amazing.
But also, you could take you as a case. You're also going to do some short reels, perhaps also some social media. So there should be this ecosystem of sound, so we can recognize, yes, this is Laura Barber, this is Ripple Impact, and then we can make a version for your phone as well. We can make it for your ringtone. We can make a version for is it wintertime? Is it summertime? So different seasons as well. So there might be up tempo or more. But start simple. Start very simple, but with the right core. So it's just like building a house. You want a really good frame and architecture. Then you can always add an extra layer or build a new
Build your
floor.
foundations
The
first.
foundation right. So what does you want to create here? What feelings should I have? What should I think about it? Is it an investment podcast, or is it branding? What is it? Is it fun or dangerous? But we can definitely help you with that, Laura. Looking forward to.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Carsten, my final question that we ask everyone. So we're called the Ripple Impact, as you know, and we call our guests wave makers. Waves has a nice connection to sound as well.
Oh, yes.
So we call our guests wave makers because they're having an impact on the world. What advice would you give to aspiring wave makers?
That's a good question. I will always say, be true to yourself, even though you might have an idea that is odd to you. Like I felt in my early days, no, it's only me who's thinking about this. Can anybody else hear this? Stay true to your own intuition. So stay true to your own vibrations. Don't just try to, it's probably me, or I shouldn't do this because of what dad said, or if I say my opinion. No, stay true to yourself and listen to your inner voice. But that also demands courage. I know that, but stay courage to your inner voice and follow your life compass, so to say. What is it you want to do? what should people think, feel, or say about you when you're not here anymore?
Karsten, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, your sound and your passion with us today. You've reminded us that the smallest vibrations, a note, a beep, a moment of silence can change everything, from an incredibly helpful and informative brand noise and the importance that audio branding has on the world and throughout people's lives. And as you said, sound is the rhythm in our souls, and it's just such a beautiful sentiment. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me here. I really enjoyed it, Laura. So, and you also fantastic people like you we need in the world to share those waves, those ripples. That's how it goes out there. And you get what you give, and the frequency you send out is also the ones you receive.
Such a lovely thought. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For everybody listening, remember, when you truly tune in to the world around you, the ripples aren't just heard, they are felt. And if you're looking to elevate the sound of your brand, please pick up the phone to Karsten and the Sonic Minds team. I will be doing that. And for anyone looking to elevate their human stories of their brand, get in touch with the Ripple Impact. We'd love to help you. Whether you're a leader looking to sharpen your brand strategy, you're a founder looking to elevate your founder story, or you simply know that there's a bigger story that your business hasn't told yet, that's what we do. We would love to help you with your ripple moments and shape them into powerful narratives that turn into waves of impact that people feel. That is a wrap on this Ripple episode. Don't forget to subscribe and follow so you don't miss a beat. Tune in weekly for more bold voices and inspiring wavemaker guests. I'm Laura Barber. This is the Ripple Impact. Karsten, thank you so much. We'll see you everyone else next week.
Thank you.
Bye for now.